Oh, well, hello, my wonderful broskies, beautiful broskies of the Maverick Nation. I am the Direction Maverick, and this is part, I believe, two of. It is time for part two of What If Izuku Had a Wind and Water Quirk? Like a half and half wind and water quirk. Part two of that. Where we last left off, I did not have a Mandu with me. Where we last left off, look at this. Where we last left off was basically before the entrance exam were to take place. Endeavor still insists that Shoto get in due to recommendations, and Shoto is basically he knows he's not going to be able to win this. He knows he's not going to be able to, you know, get it through his dad's skull that he doesn't want to go and get into UA that way. And he actually wants to get the same merits as his little brother. Or adopted little brother, whatever. And Izuku, being that adopted little brother, basically Endeavor made it a point that he was not going to get in due to recommendations, and he was going to have to take the regular test like everyone else. Instead of, his other son and that Yaoyorozu girl that he mentioned again. And so Izuku, very early on, gains a little bit of a disdain for the Yaoyorozu family. Because, every time he mentions how how Shoto Todoroki, his big brother, is going to get in due to recommendations, he also mentions about the Yaoyorozu girl. Whoever the Yaoyorozu girl is, he is quickly, just growing a big amount of disdain for her. So, basically, it's the day of the test, and, Izuku goes in, and he sees what was going to trip him up in canon, if if there actually was a rock or something there that tripped him up, or if he just tripped over his own feet. Well, he basically sees what was going to trip him up, and he uses his wind quirk to basically blow it out of the way. Like, faster than you can say, oh shit. And so, he also uses his wind quirk to propel him faster towards the actual place where they're taking the test. And, he sees, well, basically, because of that, he wouldn't interact with Oraka, Ochako Oraka. He wouldn't interact with her because, she wouldn't feel the urge, the need to save Izuku from falling. Because he would have dealt with that, post haste. Izuku, he's just going up to where the test is to take place, and whenever he sees the test as being brought towards him, being brought to him, he's basically like, man, if this is all you need to do to get into UA, I mean, how prestigious can it really be? Because Izuku, being a part of the Todoroki family, and, just wanting to impress his dad, and also kind of, just being really pissed about the whole Yaoyorozu thing, he would have excelled in his smarts department. This Izuku is actually a lot smarter than Canon Izuku. So basically, he's just like, if this is all you have to do in order to pass, UA can't really be all that prestigious. I mean, come on. This is just child's play. And he actually says that to President Mike's face whenever he hands it back to the person. He actually says that in his face. This is child's play. President Mike is like, well, then you'll be happy to know that there's a second part to the test. And basically, President Mike is like about to explain everything. And so Izuku sits back on his seat, puts his feet up on the desk, and Ida's about to say something, but then Izuku gives him a death stare like no other. He's just like, say something, Four Eyes, and I will drop you like John Cena drops clans. I just had to put that reference in there because, it felt perfect. Just felt like flawless victory for Izuku here. And whenever the gates are opening, Izuku's just like, he knows what President Mike is going to say because he can literally, like, his body, like he's like his eyesight and everything is like amped to like the umpteenth degree, so he can like tell what people are about to say or do before they even say it or do it. So he is actually able to tell that President Mike is going to say there's no countdown in a real battle. And so before he's even able to say that, he just barrels out. He just barrels out. And President Mike is like, he was actually able to tell that I was going to. It's just like, well, hot damn. And, Izuku's just like, whatever happens, I will pass this test. Now, Izuku gets up to destroying like a couple hundred robots. He gets a good amount of points. And then all of a sudden he just starts to like, laugh this test off. He's like, this is easy. Like, I guess it must just be my quirk, but it's just my quirks, but it's just really easy. And meanwhile, everybody is getting tossed around by Izuku's quirk because it's just so powerful that even just using a little bit of it, he like blows people away. Because right now he really doesn't want to focus on his hurricane side because he doesn't really want to. He doesn't want to add to the carnage, if you know what I mean. Until he hears like help, and he just sees this little girl, and he's just like, and he also sees the 0 pointer, and everybody's running away from the 0 pointer, and Izuku's just like, probably weren't even going to pass a test anyways. If they're that scared, then they don't deserve to be in a hero school. Hey, 0 pointer. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And the 0 pointer just turns around and is just like what? Nani? And Izuku is just like, that's right, I'm talking to you. And he just leaps out towards it, and he like pulls another one of those hurricane shuriken things and just slices through its face, and then just goes for a freaking leaf hurricane, like pulls a Rock Lee and like smacks it down into the ground. And Aizawa was like, I want that kid in my class. And Principal Nesu was like, no problem, you can take him. Like, Principal Nesu was just like, this kid is absolutely insane. But, he is still very good at what he does. Whoever this kid is, I want to know his name at the end of the day. And Aizawa was just like, he just looks at All Might, and All Might looks at Aizawa, and they're both like, yes, Principal Netsu. And so, basically, at the end of the test, whenever Izuku's walking out, he sees Aizawa and All Might both come up to him and ask him, like, what his name is. But before they do, like, they tell him their names, and he's just like, don't bother, I already know. And he basically just shows them a hero journal. And it's like, all throughout that test, not a single mark was made on that hero journal. It's perfectly fine. And basically, he's just like, if you wanted to know my name, it's Izuku Midoriya Todoroki. And then he just tornado teleports, like, off the freaking sea. Just like that. Just like that. Juices it. And All Might and Aizawa are just like, the hell? And basically, whenever they tell Principal Netsu the name of the kid, like, Principal Netsu just has to contemplate it there for a second, like, huh? You mean that kid? It's just like, oh, yes, that's Todoroki. That one. The one that didn't get in due to recommendations. And Aizawa and All Might are just looking and they're like, what do you mean? And Principal Netsu is just like, originally there were three, but one of them died, and one of the two that are left is getting into UA due to recommendations. This one is the one that took the actual exam. So basically, Principal Netsu just explains to All Might and Aizawa basically everything. Like the one that Principal Netsu says is dead. We all know is Toya, but he makes the alias Dabi. But Principal Netsu doesn't know that part. He doesn't know that part. He just knows that there was a third child and that child is supposedly dead, which is wrong. He's still alive, but he's on the side of villainy now. And, that just raises a whole lot of red flags with All Might. He's just like, that child. He must have been the one that I was informed of and that I was going to head toward the residence, but Endeavor had already beaten me there and taken the child in. So it's true. And, like, Aizawa was just like, that kid is definitely getting into my class. And if that kid that's taking the whole thing with recommendations, he's in the class too. He's going to be in my class too. And Principal Netsu is just like, oh, so you want the brothers to be in your class? And I was like, well, hell yeah. He's just like, isn't that obvious? I, like, Aizawa was just like, he's just like, he's just there, and they're just like, All Might is just staring awkwardly at Aizawa and Principal Netsu. And, here comes in Mount Lady here to break the tension, break the ice, and, settle everything down. All the awkward weirdness and tension. Mount Lady is just like, so, how do you think everyone else did? And that just finally breaks all the tension, and All Might's able to focus on something else besides, the Todoroki kid. The one thing that he still is focusing on, though, is whether he wants Mirio to have one for all, or this Todoroki kid to have one for all. Because, before, he's like, Mirio shows a lot of promise, but now he's like, But so does this Todoroki kid. I mean, even though he has two quirks and they're very disastrous, maybe One for All could level them out. Yes, that is what I will do. I will find him. And Aizawa is just looking at All Might, and it's just like, he automatically knows what All Might's gonna do. But to All Might's surprise, whenever All Might goes up and asks him, like, "Do you want to be my successor?" and Todoroki's like, "Well, I have a question for you. Do you have anyone else in mind?" And All Might does mention Mirio, and automatically, as soon as he mentions Mirio, like, freaking Izuku just cuts him off right there and says, like, "Give him One for All. I don't want it. Now that I know someone else has a chance to get it, and I honestly really don't need it, on top of everything else that I have as baggage for me to deal with, I don't want it. He can have it. After all, I don't think he has anything to worry about. So, in all honesty, give it to him. I really don't care." And, All Might's just like, Okay. He must get his harshness from Endeavor. The things Endeavor must have drilled into that boy's head. And, Izuku just hears that and he's like, "Harshness? You know nothing about my harshness, All Might. Plus, Endeavor drilling it into my head? You can't be actually serious. If anyone's drilling anything into my head, it's my mother and my brother. My mom to stick to my beliefs on becoming a true hero, what I want to become a true hero, and my brother saying that he'll always stick by me. He's saying that that's what brothers are for. So if anything, it's them that are the ones that are drilling things into my head. I could give a shit less what Endeavor has to say. The old man tried me way too many times for me to take him seriously now." And All Might's just like, "Jeez, have some respect for your elders." Like, damn. And I actually thought this kid would be a good contender for One for All. And Izuku's like, "Are you trying to say that I'm evil?" And All Might's just like, "What?" And Izuku's just like, "Oh, nothing, just I don't like it whenever people assume things about me, especially things like that. After all, I don't go around assuming things about you, so why do that about me? Just because I turned you down? I already told you, I have enough power as it is to worry about. I don't want to have to worry about hurting my people that I do care about more than I already do. So, like I said before, give it to that Mirio guy, not me. And also, buzz off." And Izuku just walks away, and All Might's just left there, dumbfounded. He's just like, uh. And the only thing that really gets him moving is the fact that he remembers his whole time limit, and that if he's seen out in the open as Small Might, that wouldn't be very good. So, it's just, it's that thing. It's that whole thing. And, you know, I think here and now it's good enough time as ever to end off this part because Allenzy and Adassus, because the Dark Shadow Maverick is OUT out of here. Yeah, boys. Bye.